Hello, I'm Chris Frostad, President and CEO of PurePoint Uranium Group. We are an exploration company looking for uranium in northern Saskatchewan, Canada.
Chris, lovely to meet you. Well, I think I saw you in London about a year or so ago.
Yes.
But I'm in your hometown now.
You're here. Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome
thanks
to
for the
Toronto.
sunshine.
And the sunshine. Yes, it's been, this has been our winter this year.
Yeah, well, it's also been your year for uranium, right? Everyone's leaning into that story.
Absolutely.
It's got a packed conference. I mean, it's hellish. Conference next door. How are you taking advantage of this environment?
Well, it's certainly a lot easier to raise money right now.
Right.
So there's a lot of focus on uranium, a lot of focus on nuclear. You know, we've said this before. It's the attitude towards nuclear is so much different than it was 10, 15 years ago. So you know, there's a lot more politics involved. Everybody's talking about it. So from that standpoint, the world seems to have embraced it a little more closely than it might have in the past. And you know, and there's a lot of talk about the lack of fuel, uranium fuel, to power all of this stuff. So it's shone a big spotlight on the likes of us, and we start to see all that uranium overhang that we've been watching for the last 10 years go away, and the price of uranium starts popping up. So that's all good for us.
Right. So let's be clear with people maybe new to this story. You know exactly what you are in a kind of, you've got a big portfolio. Let's start with that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. The two that people are going to be focused on are going to be Hope Lake and Smart Lake, right?
Hook Lake, Smart Lake, those are the two projects that we joint venture with Cameco and Orano.
Right. Okay.
Right. And so we operate those projects for them. We have for quite some time now. They are sitting adjacent to and on trend with NextGen's Arrow deposit and Fission's Triple R deposit. And actually Fission's had some other great holes up there as well. So that whole area seems to be lighting up,
Right.
which has made it important to our partners. So
Okay.
they finance a good chunk of that, and that's where we're drilling right now.
Okay. So you're engaged as the operator. You get 10% management fee for doing so. I want to understand how interested Cameco and Orano are in terms of making a discovery and how much money they're going to throw at this thing, right? Because you know your future fortunes are predicated on making big discoveries, trying to understand, build those pounds,
right.
Et cetera, right? But they've got other fish to fry.
They don't even disclose those things.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Material to them.
So just again, for people who've been trying to understand the macro here. So Orano, it feels like Orano, perhaps because of things happening in Niger and elsewhere in the world, and may be wanting to find more uranium. Are they needing to?
Whether they need to or not, I'm not sure. Because they have a very long-term strategy around uranium, and they have reserves all over the world.
Right.
And they do say, okay, we need X amount of years out there.
Right.
But you know, they're still keenly interested on finding new deposits, new reserves, because of the various price tags attached to this stuff as well.
What I'm trying to work out is if they're interested in trying to find it with you now. Is there any pressure on them to do so, given what's happening out there?
I don't think, and I hate to say it, but I don't think there's pressure to at the moment. They continue to financially support the project because it is an important project to them. It is an important area that's opening up. I've said this before, but certainly Cameco and Orano, from an exploration standpoint, are focused 5, 6, 8, 10 years out. So they're looking for feed on the other side of the province.
Right.
But that certainly does not slow them down from continuing to financially support this project.
Meeting their commitments with you.
They are meeting all the commitments with us, absolutely.
Okay, so in a way, it's slightly out of your control. Yeah, okay, you're getting a management fee, great, but it's slightly out of your control in terms of when the big payday arrives in that sense.
For sure.
So can I get a view on the Cameco component there, because they've obviously got their big projects, you know, which did go into care and maintenance, and you know they're now rebooting things at a slower pace than perhaps people expected, probably slower pace than they expected too. Is that their focus? You know, can you expect more from them?
It's a funny relationship because we have two of them. We have the two of them in the room, and they tend to be very, I guess, transparent with each other in terms of who's trying to do what. So we've seen over the years, we see the budgets go up and down. We see it, sometimes it's Orano wants to spend more, so Cameco goes along. Sometimes somebody wants to spend less, so somebody else goes along. So it's you know, there's never any battles as to what it's going to be. They discuss budget amongst themselves, and we're pretty much told what they feel that budget's going to be, and we figure out how we're going to best spend it in the coming year.
So, see, it's interesting to me, and we'll come on to your properties on the east side of the basin for sure. It's interesting to me because if I listen to uranium bulls out there talking their game, talking their book, feels like there's a massive delta between supply and demand. You know, and it's going to be a nightmare out there for utilities to find what they need to find. You know, and of course we're talking about the enrichment side, but you've got to put those pounds through the enrichment processes. Is like, no one seems to be rushing.
I think, yeah. I think there's more under the covers than people want to think. I mean, we do have to get out from under this price overhang, right?
Right.
Uranium prices have to come back up.
Yeah.
And you know, if you add up all the market caps of all the uranium companies on the planet, most of it's Cameco. So I mean, they do pretty much control things from a large degree, from a global perspective, and have the ability to make sure that they're, you know, managing global prices properly as well. I mean, they're that's what they do.
We're saying that? Okay. Well, these people have definitely thrown that accusation at Kazatomprom in the past in terms of dumping stock in the market. But, you know, I think those days perhaps have gone. And certainly those pounds will be heading east, so it's kind of irrelevant.
They're all heading east.
But do you think there's a little bit of Cameco just trying to just calm things down price-wise? Because surely
I think so. I think not calm it down.
Right.
I think because this is a small market, and we've talked about that before. I think they're well aware of the fact that they can inadvertently, if you will, start jostling prices around.
Right.
Because it doesn't take a lot of money to muscle any of us around. And so I think they're pretty savvy in terms of what they should and shouldn't be putting out to the market in order to you know, keep the market in a level.
Well, it's the level conservative nature I expect from Cameco, and that's what I mean by calm it down. Because I think, you know, if we look back at the last cycle, there was a lot of sort of financial players perhaps jostling and moving the price a bit, right? Yeah. And that wasn't
Cameco
good.
wasn't.
No, Cameco wasn't, but
because I don't think they knew how back then, because they were coming out of a world that despised.
Yeah, but if we look to things like lithium, right? Lithium's been through this erratic price spike, etc., and it's a very, very different commodity, a very different macro environment as well. But nevertheless, retail, inexperienced investors looking in and saying, "Well, it sounds exciting, this, you know, hockey stick type growth," but it usually comes back down the other side violently as it went up. So no one wants that. So Cameco, do you think they are just trying to sort of manage, not manipulate?
I think so. No, manage. I absolutely believe they are.
Okay.
And I believe they should. Yeah. Because they can. Yeah. And it's important to them. And it's important to the industry that you know, they not go. I mean, that's what Kazakhstan did. They knocked the damn market right off a cliff, right, by flooding the market with low cost uranium. And so I think Cameco's being very responsible in how they manage that.
Okay. And so I was asking that in the context of, you know, trying to understand the pace at which Smart Lake and Hook Lake will move forward. And it sounds like
I don't think there's a direct correlation there, because let's face it, this is exploration. Anything we find in the next year or so is not going to see the light of day for a few days, for a while.
I hear you. So can we talk about, okay, you're obviously drilling at the moment there. Yeah. When will you be stopped drilling there, and when will you sort of turn your attentions to Tower and
Sure.
others?
We are, we'll probably finish, we're finishing up Hook Lake right now.
Okay.
So in the next few weeks that'll be done, and we'll get our assays and we'll talk to our partners, and we'll put that information out. And we're following up on, you know, it's another area out there, and I could get into all the technical reasons as to why we like it out there, but it's other area that Cameco and Orano and ourselves have identified that runs parallel to the Patterson trend that everybody goes after, and we've been finding different, you know, signatures of positive signatures that make us want to get out there and do a lot more work. So that's going on. We'll be done that this month. We will continue then drilling pretty much through the year at our other projects. We've got a number of them lined up now to keep going.
Okay, so let's talk about the business plan, because there's long-term, short-term goals. You've got a bunch of assets here, which, let's face it, there's a lot of people rushing in to jumping on the bandwagon as predicted,
Yep.
and they'll be looking for decent assets. If I look down in US, I think most of the decent assets are gone. All the crap's been pulled out of the back of the drawer.
Yep.
It's not pretty. If people do look into Athabasca,
Right.
and you've got a bunch of projects, how do you play this for you, long-term, short-term?
I think again I think we've been pretty competent in playing the market over the last 15 years and making sure that we're always here in the long term.
You've got to be in the
because
game
it's a
to play
long-term
the
thing.
game.
You got to be
Yeah.
in the game.
Right.
So at a time like now, when money's available, when people are available, and the attitude is there, we're certainly open to move all our projects as quickly as possible. So we're focusing on our other two primary projects. I think I just hit my mic probably, and. We're focusing on our two primary projects on the eastern side, but we've got other projects that we'd be more than happy to work with other partners who want to come in and help move those along.
But what does that look like, right? Because you're going to get a bunch of inexperienced people coming into the uranium space, never done it before, because it's jumping on the bandwagon.
Right.
I'm going to keep saying that phrase because
Right.
it's annoying when people do this with no intent of doing anything than milking the market, right?
Right.
So why would you give good projects?
We wouldn't do that.
Right. Okay.
And that's key because it's we know that it costs. And we said this before. I mean, any of the major discoveries of the last 10 years, millions of dollars was put into a very small space before they even came up with a discovery hole. So we know this takes time, it takes money, and it takes some patience. So typically, I mean, when we've had these discussions, if somebody wants to earn in a project, we're not going to let them walk away with any of it unless they've earned 51%.
Right.
And they have to have spent enough money and enough time to earn that 51%. If they want to come in and spend $2 million and earn 20% on a project, that doesn't do me any good because a year and a half from now they'll stop spending, they'll run out of money, and I'm stuck with a partner that I don't need, and I can't do anything with that project anymore, potentially. Because we're also just not in the real estate business, and there's people doing that, and that to a large degree, works for some folks as well. Will we wind up JVing any of our projects? Maybe, but quite frankly, right now we're happy to work them ourselves, and because we are able to move them all along at a pretty good clip.
What's a pretty good clip mean?
Pretty good clip is you don't want to go prospecting with a drill, first of all, right? I mean, you're looking for something the size of the convention center buried half mile underground, and you're looking for it with a pipe the size of your arm. So there's projects that we have that we still need to do some more geophysics on, some more surface work and definition, and that's just timing and scheduling. I mean, right now it's just hard to get people out there. So that's happening as quickly as possible. We're flying Smart Lake next month. We're flying Russell South next month. We're doing more at Tabernor. We're doing some new stuff up at Turner, actually, that ISO Energy. I don't know if you've heard about this ANT that they're working with. It's quite exciting. And that's right next door, so we'll fly some of that stuff. And a lot of that is, it's a pretty good clip is as fast as we can because you have to schedule people in. The drilling is another thing. You have to know what you're drilling and get things ready to go. So we will, and a lot of it's seasonal. So the drilling we need to do up at Turner Lake and at Red Willow it's helicopter work. You can't do that in the winter because the days are too short. So it that kind of stuff. So we'll do as much as we can, as much as nature allows, and without darkening the skies with a fleet of drills that are going to get ahead of you, because that's the other problem we've had. We had that at Hook Lake at one point where we had two drills out there going, and because every time you drill a hole, you can put a scintillometer down that hole, and you pretty much know how you're making out. You're plotting your next hole, and we've had it at Red Willow too, because it only took us 3 days to drill a hole. Well, now you're running and scrambling to figure out where to move that drill to next.
Right.
And that can you get wasteful if you haven't got the time to do it properly. So you really, there is a proper responsible pace to this stuff.
Right. Here's what I'm plotting. I'm trying to plot where to deploy capital and make money and how and why.
Right.
Right. So for you guys, like I said, you've been in it a long time and you kind of kept the lights on through dark days.
Yes.
Right. And we're entering into what looks like a sustained, decent period for the uranium space. Right. So you kind of weren't set up for that previously, in the sense that it was pretty crappy markets. Didn't have the money to do what you wanted to do, and no one kind of cared anyway.
Right.
That's the truth, right? So now, how do you set yourself up for success? So I hear what you want to do with your own assets and who you will and won't work with, and that's great. But if you're coming out to me this year and asking me for money, I'm going to go, why the hell would I do that? What are you going to? Are you going to sell something? Is there going to be a moment, or are these JVs going to genuinely create value as long as the market continues positively, and I can decide when I get out? So what am I looking at? What are you selling?
We're not opening up a storefront and generating revenue tomorrow.
Yeah.
But what we can do, and I think to some degree this does differentiate us. I can show you any one of our projects, and me, the accountant, can explain to you, the finance guy, why we're there, and what we expect to find and what we hope to find and why we're drilling here and not there. And so, it really is about maximizing our odds of making that discovery, because that's really the only thing that's going to move.
But everyone says that, right? So
sure they do.
and that's the problem, right? There's so much white noise, especially when these new entrants come in. They're going to make all sorts of promises about what they hope will happen, right? I'm interested in what you know now. What's the best allocation of your capital today? What's the best strategy per asset, which is going to give that asset a chance of actually, a chance to breathe and a chance to grow and become worth something to you.
Right.
For you to make a decision and say, well, do we just flip it?
But it's not something like you can just continue to make an investment in and it becomes more valuable. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't become more valuable till you find something at the end of the day.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to do. And yeah, we can sit and do the math and say, well, this is worth X amount of money and we're going to deploy so much money here and whatever. But we're just trying to find something. And so I can explain to you why the way we're going at it and the order that we're going at things and where we're putting that money has the highest likelihood.
Can you do that? Because I was talking to companies, well, for the last 3-4 years have been looking for a discovery, never made one. Well, have had to change their whole strategy.
If it's not there,
you'll
never find it.
Right. So why are you there, though? Do you know what I mean?
Right. So we can talk. We talk about Turner Lake. Turner Lake. I can show you exactly why. There's the best indicator for uranium. Best mineral is of course uranium, and so we're sitting right beside. I can show you the trend where ISO Energy's got their 45%, resource. Holy crap! And you go down the line, and we can show you what's going on in the area, and why this is where we should be drilling, and why this is where we should be doing some work.
Right.
And that's where we will go.
Okay. But how much money's been spent collectively on those?
This year we'll spend $4 million.
But collectively, what have you spent? And what's the chance of success if you just keep throwing dollars at it?
If it was only that linear a calculation, right? I mean, we've had that. I remember
that's how people
back
think,
in the days,
though, right?
Well, that's the way people think. We had one of our early board members who was out of the oil and gas business, right? He'd say, "Okay, you're going to spend $5 million in drilling this summer. What are the odds we're going to find a deposit?" And he says, "Well, if it's not there,
binary
zero.
Yeah.
If it's there, a good chance we might find it. So it's because it's elusive, this stuff.
Right.
It truly is.
But where's the point at which people go, oh, forget this. These guys can't find stuff, so I'm out of here. What have you got to say or do to that?
These guys can't find stuff. Well, they don't have the property. They're not sitting on something that's got something on it. We've found a lot of uranium, small stuff, too small.
Are you looking for that
if you can find, if you can find the small stuff, imagine how easy it'll be to find the bigger stuff that's sitting there waiting for you. And that's it. We've talked about Hook Lake. We have a deposit out there that's 10, 20 million pounds, but that's not enough for our partners. That doesn't get them out of bed. So we move on. It's a chase. So I think investors have to look at. I hate to say it, but this is like you're pulling the lever one more time.
Okay. So how do I view you? Do I say, look, you got a bunch of properties, you're in the right neighborhood.
Right.
It is a matter of time. If it's there, we'll find it. But park your paper in the back of the drawer, and if we hit your high leverage return on this thing is
it's a crude way of
what
putting
you're
it,
looking
but
for. I'm a very crude man.
But that's essentially it. So how do you improve the odds, right?
Yeah.
You have hopefully you have better property. You're not just picking up real estate. Hopefully you've got people that know, that have done enough of this, that they've held enough of these rocks in their hands and they know what's going on. And again, our partners help validate what we're doing as well, because they can't free up budget unless they're.
But you know why I'm asking you, don't you? Because there's a bunch of people going to have already, will continue to, probably for the next 2 or 3 years, come in there and say to the same audience that you're talking to, chasing, it's like, oh no, it's easy. trust me, it'll be fine.
It's the noise. Yeah.
It's the noise,
It is
right?
the noise.
And that money will go over to where the noise is. And
Potentially.
Right?
Because it's the vernacular. That's what we
Yeah.
ran into last time. When people start making up terminology, it's insane. What's composite mineralization? I love that one. We're going to take what we found here and what we found down here in this hole and what we found in this hole and then what we found in that hole. We're going to add it all up.
Yeah.
And now we've got 28 meters of 2% or something. I mean, what is that? I mean,
Yeah.
we know the front end of a front end loader's got to be at least 6 to 9 feet wide. So
Yeah.
if it's a foot and a half isn't going to do me anything. I can't
Yeah.
mind that.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of stuff like that. And people are kind of, off scale. And, and today high grade is anything over whatever I define it to be.
Yeah.
There's so much noise, and it is tough. And that's why we put out a lot of material, and we talk to you, and we talk about the market, and we talk about, we don't just talk about our projects, we talk about, about the process. We talk about how we go at this stuff and how we find it, because somehow it's more than just a tagline. People have to understand that we're serious about it, and it takes time and perseverance and patience. And
do you think, in a very meaningful way, that the exploration model, financing model, is broken?
it is, well, it's tough because without exploration, there's no mines.
Right.
But it's such a highly speculative end of the scale.
Yeah.
I think Canada does it very well in supporting this flow-through process. Now, I mean, Canada's economy is based
me
on
about
pulling
that.
stuff out of the ground.
I mean, I'm hearing.
It's brilliant. I think.
Well,
it's
you
brilliant.
think it's brilliant. And I've heard CEOs go, it was like a fundraiser of last resort. I'm not doing it again. Because.
Oh, because all the shares come back on you. That's what people say. Yeah, that's Americans usually telling you that who can't get access to it. No, it depends. Well, you don't just take it from anybody either.
Yeah.
We've done a lot of flow through.
Yeah.
From firms that have been funding us for like 10 years, and they're still sitting on most of the stuff they got because they believe in uranium and they believe in us and what have you. So there have been funds in the past that did nothing but, I mean, I could pick up the phone and raise myself $3 million and it'd show up my bank account, and then 4 months later, my stock would get whacked. So I mean, you have to go at it intelligently. But for the Canadian government to say, look, we know you don't have revenues to apply all these expenses against. Let's give those expenses to your shareholders to deduct. They're supporting exploration in the country, and we know that's necessary. But you have to do it responsibly. And now they're into there's a whole the charity flow through thing is kind of another layer on that. But again, that's still tax deductions. That it's taxpayer money that's being put back in through those deductions. So
Okay. So this is fine. Sorry, keep going on about it. Why you? Why not some of these new entrants that will come in? Why are you a better bet for me?
well, I think it's timing. So the new entrants don't know what they're getting into. First of all, right? It's the flavor of the day. It's the hot commodity, is uranium, and as we and others have demonstrated, the ones that are still around. I mean, even somebody like a Fission or an F3. I mean, they're quietly out there spending money, raising money, poking holes in the ground for years. Now they get a good hole. So I think experience is going to be experience in the area and where we are and what we're looking for is huge. It's huge, and I think, and again, I think our partners validate a lot of what we're doing because we've been there longer than most of the people in their exploration teams, and we get listened to, and the fact that they continue to invest and continue to support that from a lot of different angles means that we're doing the right thing, and again, we've got property that we've that has gone through all of that preliminary work, and we've focused. We know what we're looking for now and where we're looking for it. We're not poking holes in the ground randomly.
I see, because I would argue, people know you, like you, and all the rest of it, and you're doing things the right way, and all good. But you're judged on share price, right? That's the thing, right?
Yep.
So what's it going to take to move the dial? When's that going to happen? That's what people are actually thinking about this, right?
Sure. And I think you can see if you look at, we track ourselves against everybody else in the market, and what you'll see, we were all surprised over the last years. We saw uranium prices taking off, that all of the exploration companies just kept drifting down, and yes, there's a lot of volatility in there, but we track the average of all of the share price changes of all of those companies, and it's us. We hug that line like grim death, and it's so we tend to be far less volatile. We're and people aren't watching everybody, so you get we get a lot of complaints. Uranium prices going through the roof, and somebody else's stock just went up. Whatever. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah.
And how come you can't make that happen? And it's we're fine.
Yeah.
We're you watch that one in a month, you'll be yelling at them instead of me. Like we tend to be follow what the market wants us to do, and if we're going to get off of that rocket, or off of that roller coaster, because it's not a roller coaster for us. We're just far less volatile. It's going to be through a discovery, like it is with any of them. We see them jump up 200, 300, 400% when they make a real discovery. That's the value proposition here.
Simple as that, isn't it?
As always.
Mine is simple when you think about it.
Isn't it though?